the episode of the Freelancer Codex podcast. Your host, Steven, and co-hosts Mike, Devon, and JD are all set. Join us and tweet your questions at Freelancer Codex. Find us on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or send emails to freelancercodex@gmail.com. Strap into your javelins, and let's drop in.
Welcome, freelancers, to episode 65 of the longest-running Anthem podcast on the internet. And the internet's been around for a long time, so that's saying something. I'm your host, Steve, along with my co-hosts Mike, Devon, and JD. Guys, Feliz Navidad. How you guys doing? You guys doing good?
Doing great. How are you?
We're all fine here.
We're all fine here.
I'm gonna discount, double check, slip right in here. I'm doing great.
What's your operating number?
Boring conversation anyway. Guys, it is 71 days until the launch of Anthem.
I don't believe you.
Dun, dun, dun.
Did you
That
do this
means
math?
I did do the math. I actually had this Excel sheet do my math because I get confused all the time. There's only 64 days until you can play it 1 week early through Origin Access Premier on the personal computing system. You can also play for 10 hours on that same day, 64 days from now, on the 15th of February through EA Access on your Xbox and your PC. Sorry, PlayStation, you're not getting that. I don't even think you're getting the game. I don't think it's being released on the PlayStation 4. There's actually been a lot of questions on Twitter lately asking if, hey, is this game coming out for the PC? Is this coming out for the PlayStation 4? The answer to all those questions is yes. It is not coming out on the Switch, unfortunately, but you'll be able to play it on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 4. The demo that is releasing on February the 1st is only 50 days away, and I know last week we talked about the demo coming out on January 25th, and we were led to believe that that was incorrect information. It was incorrect information for the demo, but then they announced the VIP demo that will be available to everyone that pre-orders, everyone that is signed up through Origin Access Premier. You will have access to a demo that happens on January 25th. And I believe they said that the demo on the 1st goes from the 1st to the 3rd.
Yep.
So I'm assuming the VIP demo is also going to go 3 days.
It's 2 days only.
Devon shakes his head no. It's going to be 2 days only.
Yep,
for
25th,
the
26th.
And your progress will not transfer over.
Nope, it's a demo.
And we can talk about a lot of progression later. But first, I want to know, like, how many of you broke your NDAs? No, Mike changed the question on me here, and every time I've got a question, Mike goes in, Shadow types it in. It's what you do. I understand.
It is what I do.
Maybe I don't want to get to know you guys anyway, so I really don't. No,
What NDAs are you talking about, Steven?
So, I will talk about this, and I'll risk my getting all the content taken away from me personally, so you guys don't have to talk about it. Last weekend, there was an alpha that happened. I believe everyone knows that there was an alpha taking place, and that's not part of the NDA because every site was talking about it, and that happened. And that's all you can really say about it. You can say that it happened. You are able to say if you actually got into the alpha, but according to the EULA that everyone signed upon getting in, you're not allowed to talk about it at all. You can say you're in, you can share that link with a couple of friends, but other than that, you're breaking an NDA if you're talking about it. So everyone on YouTube comments, you're breaking NDA. I mean, there's like thousands of people that are talking about details of the game. It's like, seriously, guys? I mean,
too many.
I guess you know,
Still
when you talk
videos
about alpha test.
Every day.
Yeah, you talk about alpha test, beta test. It's like, you guys, you know, you're not supposed to be able to share this. I mean, if you read the stuff that you actually sign up for. But I guess that's an issue with, you know, we sign so many EULAs by just clicking a check mark, scrolling down through things that you don't even read it. You're just trying to get to whatever content you're trying to access that you don't even know what you're signing, right? And that's just kind of what we do nowadays. We don't read anything. We're just like, oh, I'm sure there's nothing wrong in here. I'm just going to go click it away. There's no way that they can revoke my access if I talk about it. So great stuff. Anyway, that can happen behind us. Okay.
I have a funny
Devon,
story to tell you.
Please tell.
Stepping in. Telling the story.
It wasn't written in here, so I didn't know that you had a story. But carry on.
Hey, we're winging it, all right?
Okay, that's what we do.
No, so about signing things and you don't read, you know. So I was doing training at work the other day. There's about 30 people I was training for a new safety procedure, and at the very end there was a place where people could sign, but it wasn't for people to sign. It was for me to sign and give a revision date for the document that I created. And all 30 of these people just signed it and turned the paper in. Didn't even read what the crap it said. And I'm like, all of you are idiots. And they're like, what? I was like, why did any of you sign this paper? It doesn't say sign here. It says, you know, RSO signature and revision date. And they're like, oh. I was like,
because I'm guessing it's probably like a federal document, right? That can't be forged, and they're signing it in the wrong spot.
Yeah, well, there was nothing for them to sign other than the sign-in sheet, the log that says they were there for this training course that we did at 5:50 in the morning till 6:50.
Nice.
And before our regular safety meeting, and they're all just like, what? But they do that all the time. You just put a piece of paper in front of them. They're like, oh, there's 2 lines. I just got to sign here. I didn't read anything, but I'm going to sign this.
Click if you agree to the terms and conditions.
So what you're saying is
you read the terms and conditions.
So we need to read everything that we're signing online. I mean, the checkbox is a digital agreement that you are agreeing to everything. So maybe you should read it. I mean, no one reads the iTunes one, and that thing I think you have to scroll for like 5 minutes before you get to the bottom of it. So I don't even know what I'm signing for iTunes, but anyway, don't break NDA, don't lose your stuff.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff.
So, Karen, also, you know, something that we learned this week, that we finally got a rating for Anthem. So it is rated T for teen.
T for teen.
So I think we all kind of knew that it was going to be rated T for teen. That's kind of the spot to where you can get it out to the most amount of people to buy your game. So,
Mike's upset
you're T for
there's no nudity, so.
Unless you get all on that mod stuff. So I'm sure you can put it in as much as you want, Devon, once you start modding the game.
Wooden javelin?
That's a special gear slot.
Different.
Wow.
I was thinking about. Okay, so we had an interview. You know, we've been trying to get Jon Warner on the show for a long time. He's been avoiding my calls like crazy. I was finally able to track him down despite having like a restraining order, and we got him to come on the show. So right now we are going to play an interview that we recorded earlier in the day with Jon Warner. So freelancers, now we would like to welcome a very special guest onto the show, Jon Warner, director of the game Anthem. And Jon, do you actually have a director's chair, like one of those comfortable chairs you see all the time that you get to sit in?
Yeah, I just sit in that. I perch in my office and we point at things. Hey, do this, do that.
Are you always afraid when you like fold it up, you're gonna get your finger caught and just like chop off one of your fingers?
No, actually, I'm actually so afraid of that. I don't really have one of those.
just leave it in the corner. Don't even use it, and just do what you need to. So, Jon, looking over your profile, I mean, you've been in the game industry for like years. I'm not saying you're old, but I mean, it's been. When did you first get started in the industry?
Let's see here. So I got started in the industry in 2002, working with Microsoft on Lynx 2004 Golf as a quality assurance tester.
Oh wow!
I like it.
So how is the knowledge from Lynx translated into Anthem? Are we having like a golfing mini game? Is that what you're telling us?
Somewhere deep in the center of the planet, there's a golf.
Yeah.
Nice.
Easter egg. No.
But you learn a lot from an experience like that. You get to understand, the nuts and bolts of how games get made and just the whole process. It takes a long time to kind of put all that together, but that's a great place to start.
Yeah, and then you've gone on to work on things like Cars 2, Toy Story 3, Meet the Robinsons, Chicken Little. You did some Dragon Ball Z stuff in there. I mean, that's kind of a huge switch. You go from Disney to Dragon Ball Z. I'm like, wow, that's got to be like a kind of a change of, you're changing art style or you're changing lots of stuff there. So how do you, like, what knowledge are you bringing from all those games that you worked on to bring to Anthem? I mean, it seems like those are very, very different games.
They are very different games, and you do learn a lot as you make different games. Like the stuff I did for Disney, stuff I did for THQ. A lot of it is just learning how to manage teams and manage deadlines, and put together something that's really entertaining and yet really simple to understand. When you're making entertainment for kids or for families, you really have to be able to tell your message, whether that's how to play the game or why you're playing the game, in a really simple and concise manner. And just because you're now developing games for adults, it doesn't mean that you take those lessons and throw them away. To develop successful children's entertainment, whether that's J.K. Rowling, writing Harry Potter, or whether it's a really well-made family game like Toy Story 3, you can't talk down to your audience. You have to be crisp. You have to be clear, and really communicate well. Those were the lessons that I took from the software development side, working at Disney. And then, I had the pleasure of working with Pixar on a few properties, and really learning the craft of excellent storytelling, and bringing that here to BioWare, where we already have such world-class talent in storytelling, I think was also a good thing for me.
Yeah, and I think even looking today, IGN released the Legion of Dawn trailer, the first time we got to see that, and it's only like a minute and 20 seconds long, but it evokes so much emotion of this superhero figure that has either saved the fort, saved the planet. We don't know exactly what Helena Tarsis did, but just the emotion that's brought out from the work that you guys are doing, it was like, wow, there's depth to the people here. Obviously there's something worth fighting for, and now we've got heroes in the world already that we can kind of rally around. And I thought it was super cool. I did feel a little bit deceived though, Jon, that there are Shaper energy powered swords in this game, and you guys haven't told us about them yet. I kind of feel like you're burying the lead there. I mean, you lead with the super powered sword, right?
Calm down. So first of all, I'm really glad you enjoyed the trailer. I really like it too. I think it is a great piece of storytelling, and the team that worked on it did a phenomenal job, in my opinion. So swords, let's get this out. So definitely, General Tarsis had an amazing, cool, epic, legendary sword that she used in her struggle back in the day. No swords that you're going to be able to use with your javelin. The Ranger, of course, has that awesome electric mace. But we're not ruling that out for the future.
And that's all you have to tell me. If the future possibility, if you just keep leading me along, I'll be happy with it.
Yeah, just dangle that carrot out in front of him.
The carrot of Damocles. There it is.
There it is.
So one thing that I kind of wanted to ask Jon, because you're leading two teams that are in different parts of North America. You're leading this big giant boat. You guys are like 43 days away until we get to the first VIP demo. I mean, what's the feeling in the studio right now? That's got to be going from 2017, the first viewing of Anthem, to the year of that development, to now to being so close. I mean, what's the emotional state of all the developers right now?
Well, it's kind of a mix. When you work on a project that is as long as Anthem, you go through different emotional phases as well. I think right now people are feeling pretty tired. It has been a long push and a hard push to get us where we're at. But there's also a good deal of excitement as we're finally able to start sharing the build with people, with wider and wider audiences. We just finished our second closed alpha, which was a good success. And to see people respond to it so well, to see the excitement that it generates, like with the Game Awards trailer and now Legion of Dawn trailer, people are starting to feel that lift of excitement of sharing this cool game we've made. But tired, man. I would say tired.
I was gonna say, I'm guessing you guys are tired. Luckily, hopefully you guys get some holiday days coming up pretty soon. You guys can kind of relax. And then come back January in full panic mode, I'm assuming, waiting to hit the giant red launch button. And then we finally get it in our hand. You guys probably are going to be jumping on at the same time when everyone else is, getting in there, shooting some grabbits, I hope, and just kind of having a great time. And we did get to see a pretty awesome, I guess, the progression stream that Ben did today. So we've seen a lot of the Storm, we've seen a lot of the Ranger. It seems like all the devs on Twitter are saying, you know what, the Storm's my main. The Storm's the awesome javelin. So how are you guys going to make it so not everyone is just flocking to the Storm? I mean, what do the other javelins bring to the table that's going to be like, nope, that's the one I'm playing, or is it, no, I'm going to play all of them?
Well, you're going to play all of them, and we do too. I think that, you know, there are certain circumstances where you just don't want to take your Storm out. Like in today's live stream, right? Darren ran into those 2 legendary Ursics out in free play. Yeah, you don't want to face that when a Storm all by yourself, right?
He didn't want to face it by himself in a Ranger.
Yeah.
They each have their own draw, and I think that, you know, you're going to switch around depending on your mood, depending on what you're trying to tackle as well. I think that honestly, right now the Interceptor requires a lot of technical skill to play it really well. I have a lot of fun with the Interceptor, and the cool thing about all of the javelins, to include the Ranger, don't be deceived because it's the one you start out with. It's not the noobsicle. It is have a lot of nuance to them. And, you know, you can see the way that Darren built out his Ranger, that Masterwork Ranger that he had today on the stream. It takes some thought and some planning to create a build that kind of does what you want it to do, builds off these different synergies. They're all like that. And you can spend, hundreds of hours really getting into the technicality of playing one of these loadouts really well.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so we play them all.
That's awesome.
Very cool. But your favorite is the Storm, right? I mean, you play them all, but that's going to be your favorite.
Currently, does it change a bunch?
It does. It actually changes a bunch. Like, you know, when you're tackling a stronghold, and it depends on your team too. You know, sometimes you just want to take the Colossus because you want to pull out that big old shield and lay down the hammer. I enjoy the Storm for a lot of different reasons. It appeals to me archetypally as, you know, it's one of the superhero archetypes that just kind of draws me. You know, when I play typical RPGs, I usually play a mage. So, you know, its power set kind of draws me in.
Cool. Yeah, and I think one of the very cool things that we saw today during the progression stream is that it seems like there's going to be so many different ways to build your javelin with the different weapons. If you get to that masterwork setting, you know, you're going to have a weapon that does this specific thing, but even within that weapon, you're going to be able to, I guess, get that weapon multiple times to maybe it's going to, you know, if you want to hover a bunch, you're going to go after that same weapon with a different role. Do you have a favorite weapon that you've been using that you can mention? Did you name one after yourself? That's like, nope, this is the Jon Warner special. This is the one I'm using all the time.
Because if you didn't, you've missed an opportunity there, sir. I'm gonna have to tell you that now.
El del Guapo. No. All writers don't let me name anything. You guys are crazy.
Oh man.
I don't really have a favorite weapon as of yet. I do like the heavy pistols, especially because I enjoy playing the lighter class javelins. But even on the Ranger, there's a heavy pistol called the Blastback, which I really enjoy. There is a Sledgehammer light machine gun, which is nice for up close and personal.
Cool.
So, you know, I'm still exploring it. There are so many weapons in this game, in combination with the gear pieces and the components, that there's a lot to love in there.
Very cool. I'm not going to pin you down with a number, but can you give us a number of how many weapons are in the game? Is that
no? It's greater than 5.
Oh,
it's greater than 5.
Nice.
No, I think that's plenty. How many more do you really need?
I think that there is actually a number, but it's one of those things that we're going to constantly be adding to and introducing new weapons to as we march into, you know, our post-launch plans and the live service. So
cool.
Very cool. And one thing when Mike and Sabine did their last stream when we walked through Fort Tarsus, you know, I just had a couple questions about the fort. We've also heard about some of the lore on the website. It talks about Faye, Halleck, and Owen when they were born. And you might be able to just like not answer this question, so you can just say, you know, I'm not going to answer that question. But when it says that Faye was born in 437 LV, what is the LV?
You know what? I actually don't know what the LV stands for.
Okay. But you're not saying you can't answer. That's fine. I'll take that answer.
I don't know what it stands for. Wink, wink. Drink coffee.
I gotcha. Fair enough.
No,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go, please. This is your show. We're here for you, John.
We're here for you.
Yeah, I actually don't know off the top of my head what LV stands for, but I will come back to you on that.
Oh, awesome.
All right, we'll call up Jay. He can tell us.
Yeah,
So cool.
So is Shaper energy used to power everything in Anthem? I mean, are the Striders running on Shaper energy? Are they drawing power from the Anthem of creation? Do we know how our javelins are actually moving around? I know it's not Duracell. It's probably not Duracell.
It is not Duracell. It is not coal. But it's also not directly the power of the Anthem. The power of the Anthem is way too destructive. You see it within Shaper ruins. When it starts to bust out, it causes horrible destruction, cataclysmic destruction. So it would be bad to be running one of those things, but like a little tiny black hole or something in the core of your suit.
Nice.
Oh wow!
Javelins and Striders actually run on an element called Ember, and it's not. We don't actually get into the details of how it's processed and how the core works. It's kind of like how Iron Man's technology runs on an arc reactor, and you never really understand quite exactly how an arc reactor does what it does.
It just does.
You just know it does it.
Yeah.
It does
Tony
it.
Stark
It's the thing that does it. Yep, it's the thing that does it.
Now, Tony
That's
Stark
cool.
was able to build an arc reactor in a cave in Afghanistan. So, you bet.
Right on. And the Dominion, we've learned also a little bit more about them. I mean, you guys, this last month, you guys have been just throwing all the information out on us. Is that just because we're going on vacation? Here it is. Don't talk to us. Leave us alone. Just consume it all. And the Monitor, he's obviously taking some of that energy, manipulating it for his own means, taking these Fury that Mike has talked about a little bit, manipulating them, taking over the Woven, the Brutes. Are they using that power to just kind of take over the creatures of Anthem? Are they controlling them somehow, or are they just raising little puppies from when they were little to attack freelancers when they go out?
That is a delightful image. I like that. But the Dominion, their viewpoint on the world is a lot about control. They want to bring peace through control, and they feel like they have actually figured out a way to control the Anthem of creation, and they're going to give that a try, and we'll see how that turns out for them. But that's kind of their thing. They are controlling. They're controlling the creatures of the world. They're trying to manipulate the energy of the Anthem, and that's their goal, is to control it and bring peace through that control.
But we definitely have a motivation. This isn't just like Lion King. Scar wanted to take over Pride Rock because he was just upset about it.
He
and
wanted
didn't really
control.
have a great management plan, That just kind of ended badly for him. So I'm excited to see more about the Monitor. His look looks super awesome. It's cool. I kind of get like the samurai look and feel from him. And is his javelin, is he in a storm, or is that a different type of suit that only the Monitor has?
Yeah, he's in a different type of suit that is able to manipulate energy somewhat like the Storms, but it's much more heavily armored.
Ah, very cool.
Cool.
And one of the things also talking about the Woven and the Fury, like a lot of the creatures of the planet, I really enjoy the art design. It almost has like a crustacean, feel. Like you take a crustacean, you take a crab, you take a spider, and you smash it together. It's things of your nightmares, but you're like, okay, this is really cool. Now let's make it like,
Bigger.
6 times big.
Let's make it bigger.
That it can eat someone. So what is like the, your guys' method for creating the creatures of Anthem?
Well, our art director, Derek Watts, came up with a pretty brilliant vision as we were concepting the world. And a lot of our creatures have insectoid features. If you look really closely at the grabbits, even, you'll notice that they have the multifaceted eyes. They've got those nightmare teeth inside their cute little mouths. But yeah, that's definitely one of the elements that we use and that we bring out into all the creatures of the world. And partly because the Anthem is alive and well on this planet, and it is warping and changing things, and partly because things come through these rifts, these cataclysms that the Anthem creates.
So these rifts and cataclysms, are those pulling from the planet themselves, or are we pulling like off of some other planet that we can't even see? That are we reaching through dimensions?
There are lots of theories about that, even among the people of the world. No one really knows the answer to that question.
Very good, and I think it also lends for you guys from a development standpoint is that you can continue creating things without having to be tied down, right? You could create something so wildly different from what we've seen, and there's a lore reason from it. It's not just, well, we ran out of ideas here, let's start making something else.
Right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. We spent a lot of time just kind of figuring this world out, how it works, and making sure that it is internally consistent with itself, so that it could become a platform where we could tell an infinite number of stories. But it all has to make sense. It all has to hang together. So we did spend a lot of time making sure that it did.
All right, and I'm very excited to see. The comic is coming out pretty soon. I'm sure we're going to get a little bit more about Yarrow, Yanni, and see, now I'm forgetting the other person's name. But are there going to be other opportunities for novelization or things coming out to give us a deeper look into what maybe a story about Helena herself? Not going to pin you to that, but I might pin you to that.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be other types of things like this. One of the great things about building new intellectual property is that it all starts with the video game, but you can consider the video game as the core, the kernel, source of truth in it. But it can express itself in lots of different ways, whether that's comics or novels or movies. It can go in a number of places, and that's why we build them this way. Is it becomes a platform to tell stories on.
Very cool. I'm excited to see a lot more. If you were like, right now, I want to make this, what would you do? Would you do a novel? Would you do a book? If you had a choice, guys had all the money, no one's telling Jon Warner no. What's that one thing that you would want to create? Is it just a Lego set that features Anthem, or what?
Oh, that would be really awesome. One thing that I create. Now, I'm a huge reader, so I'm tempted to say that I would love to see a cool novel made. But
written by Brandon Sanderson, I'm guessing.
Possibly.
Let's call that guy up. He's not busy.
Hey, Brandon, Bubsy, I know you're working hard, but
I've got this one little project.
I would make an awesome toy line, to tell you the truth.
Oh, that's
like a Hot Toys or a Weta quality set of javelins. I think that would be awesome.
Well, if you want to print money, you might have a great idea.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm pretty sure that would sell.
That would sell.
I'm throwing money at my computer right now.
That's right. Hot Toys, if you're listening.
Yeah. Yes, please. We'll get you.
We'll hook you guys up.
One of the things, John, also that we've been reading a lot on Twitter. Oh, speaking of Twitter, are you guys crazy for like going and answering that many questions on Twitter? Like, what's the idea behind that?
Is Mark doing okay? Yeah. Like, is he stable still? I mean,
Mark is the hardest working man in the show business, I'll tell you that much. And it really stemmed out of Mark's idea. It was Mark's idea that we would do this, ask me almost anything, and God, I swear to God, he just started answering questions, and we were like, oh, shit. But,
I'm still saying that.
Once the thing started rolling, we were just like, hey, this is actually really good. This is actually really refreshing. Let's just tell as many things as we can and answer as many questions as we can. So we each try to, take a portion of our day just to answer questions. And, I think it's worked out pretty well.
It has. We've gotten tons of information that way. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's been awesome.
And I think more than that, it adds kind of to a personal level that connection with the player directly to you guys, because normally you don't get that level of interaction with the developer. But like seeing, I mean, you guys have been asked. I bet if you looked at your phone right now, you have what? How many notifications? Like 4,682. Like half of those are from us. Like I understand that, and we'll stop. But I mean, just the level of like, no, those little interactions, I think, make a big difference to the player. Sometimes it could be the difference between that person saying, well, I don't know if I want to buy this game because of this. But no, Jon Warner tweeted me back, I'm going to get this game, because it does kind of give you that little hit of, oh, they actually really care. So I think it's been a great way to interact with everyone.
Oh, thank you. I'm really glad to hear that. It's, you know, if I could talk to everybody personally, just to let them know how passionate we are about this game, and how passionate I am about how fun it is, I would do it. I would absolutely do it. But, you know, we do what we can, and I'm glad you guys are liking it and finding it helpful.
Yeah. And as we get close to the end of the interview, I want to talk about kind of, you know, the end game. Is there any end game details that you can share? Because I know that for a looter shooter game, that, you know, live service game, that's kind of the draw to it. It's like, what am I going to be doing after I finish the story? Is this going to be it? Am I going to play for a couple months, have to take a break till the next content drop? I mean, what are you guys doing to keep us coming back in?
Well, you know, you're right. And when we sat down to and thought about what we wanted Anthem to be at the very, very beginning, we knew we wanted to create an experience that you could come back to over and over again, that, you know, you could engage it in a much longer way than you would a traditional, you know, like Mass Effect or Dragon Age game. So yeah, you know, we're gonna get into a bunch of details on exactly how we're gonna support our live service, and I think it's exciting and it's different than a lot of things that you've seen with other games. But the stuff I can talk to is this, you know, what you saw today in the live stream was a really tantalizing look at those masterworks and legendaries. And chasing those is half the fun, right? Doing stuff like our strongholds, which is, you know, super challenging content. It's going to take a really good squad, well coordinated, to get in there and play those at the highest difficulty settings. You know, as you're progressing through the game, you have access to, you know, what you would expect, an easy, normal, a hard difficulty setting. But once you hit a certain level, you'll be able to unlock what we call Grandmaster difficulties, and attacking these strongholds at Grandmaster difficulty. That's where you're going to start dropping these amazing legendary weapons. And so, you know, I think that we've created a place for you to chase these with strongholds. We have a kind of a repeatable agent contracts. You know, you've met our agents, Tassin and Bryn, Matthias. You're going to be able, and Yarrow, of course, let's not forget Yarrow. You can get repeatable legendary contracts from these agents that will also be a great source for dropping this ultra rare legendary loot. And that's going to be a piece, just a little piece of the fun of the Elder game.
Nice.
Very cool.
That sounds fun. That's not even a piece. That's like Red Bull injected into your veins. You know, toothpicks holding your eyes open. I mean, our group, I could see us spending a lot of time on a stronghold. It took us a long time to do the first stronghold level activity in a game that we used to play, and so we'll be working on it for a while. Sounds good.
Well, I think one of the fun thing is, and maybe you can talk a little bit about how you guys design your weapons and balance them, you know, because there is no PvP, and a lot of people have said, you know, there's no PvP at launch. I don't know if it's coming down in the future. You probably can't say if it is or not, but like balancing a weapon, like I forget what name they called it today. Say Jar's Wrath, balancing that weapon.
Yeah.
I mean, are you guys able to just say, you know what? Let's let the players have fun. Let's make the biggest explosions possible without trying to break the game. I mean, how do you do that in a game like this where it's like you're superheroes, you want things to blow up? How do you control that?
Well, you know, a couple things about that. And I'll speak to it at a high level because, you know, we have really smart designers like Chris King and great producers like Darren, who are, this is their full-time job, and they're balancing the game, God, you know, day and night. But one thing that ties back to PvP is when you have a system where you have PvP and PvE coexisting, you really got to flatten down the power curve on those weapons to keep things fair, so that it's a game of skill and not just a game of, you know, I have the better weapon. We didn't want to try to engage in that challenge. That's a really difficult thing to do. So what we decided was we were going to lean into PvE so that we could have these crazy power curves on these weapons and really let you feel like you're an OP god, you know, and then just have some fun with that. So really the balance work then comes into not having to worry about the PvP curve, but really looking more at the synergies of, you know, the base properties of the weapon, its infusions, and its masterclass property as well once you get up into that level. And then you balance that with the different components on your suits, the gear that you're toting. It's a big, complex web. But you know, thank God we've got the right people on the job, and it's an exciting system to engage in.
And that's only after the 5 hours you spent actually personalizing your javelin. You know, because you gotta spend all that time doing that first. You gotta look good. You gotta dress for the job.
Gotta get that wooden javelin in there, right? No.
That wooden skin. That wooden skin that we know is gonna be there, right?
Now you know that wood is not flame retardant. Why would you take?
Well, it's vinyl.
Because the same reason the arc reactor works. It just does.
It just does.
They got varnish. They got
I see what you did there, Mike.
varnish there.
That's nice. That's nice.
So real quick, John, as we're winding down, you know, how are you gonna relax during the holidays? Is there that one game you've been saving for the holiday break that you're finally gonna pop in to the game box and finally sit down and play?
Or is it Anthem?
Yeah, I'm going to be playing a lot of Anthem for the holidays.
John's crying right now for our audio listeners. He's got tears coming out of his eyes. That's usually where you cry from.
From your eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from your eyes.
Unless you have other problems.
Well, let's not go there. No, I'm going to spend some time with Ashen. I just picked that up for my Xbox. That looks like it's a cool Dark Soulsy kind of a experience. I'm always interested in those. I'm going to poke around a little bit, play some more Dead Cells. Those are the God and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I haven't had time to engage that nearly as much as I want to, so I'm gonna be playing some of that.
Those are some great picks. Dead Cells is a great game. So as we wrap up, John, is there anything that you want your fans of Anthem to know? Anything that, like, hey, this is like a hidden sneak peek. No one else knows this except for you guys right now. I'm not putting you on the spot to divulge, you know, super secret information, but if you wanted to, you could do it now. Or, you know, is there something that you want your fans to know that they don't get to hear?
Couple things that I want fans to know about. It's a pretty vast world, and you know, I've talked about this before to other people, but I'll say it again because I say the words and I don't think people quite get their arms around it until they play it. And that is, when you introduce flight and verticality in the way that we have, the explorable possibilities in the world really multiply, and that really powers this feeling of freedom and curiosity that you can engage in. Just flying through the world, finding secrets, diving under the water, finding really cool underwater dungeons. That's a thing that you can do. Like, you could fly over a body of water, you know, 1,000 times, and then decide one day that you're going to drop down there and check it out, or you overheat and you go down into the water accidentally, and then, hey, surprise, you find that there's something really cool under there. That is a really neat moment. It's an Anthem moment for me, and I really want people to engage this game with a sense of curiosity and wonder, because there's a lot to see. There's a lot to discover.
Awesome.
Very exciting. Well, John, we appreciate your time. Appreciate
so
you know,
much.
you guys are super busy, so even taking this 30 minutes for us. I it means a lot for us. It means a lot for the people listening because we know you guys are super busy getting ready for that launch. So you guys know when you're going gold at the end of this month, the beginning of next month?
Should be going gold next month, and then we're almost there.
We're almost
All right.
there.
We're
See the finish
excited.
line. Awesome.
We didn't want to make you nervous by telling you how many days there are left, just in case.
Not tattooed on the back of my eyelids.
John is crying again. But John, we really appreciate it. You know, we'd love to do it again sometime. And until next time, freelancers, this has been Jon Warner. John, do you want to give out your Twitter handle to more people? Is that something you want to do, or would you rather just start tweeting me?
I'm at bio_Warner. Feel free to jump on and follow me. We can talk. I'll answer your questions as best as I can. And, thanks for, you guys are running a great community. I love it. I appreciate your enthusiasm. You're awesome. I enjoyed the podcast. So strong alone, stronger together.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, freelancers. Till next time, there's a Shaper Storm on the horizon. We'll see you on the other side.
Peace.
Cheers.
And now we're back. That was a fantastic interview with Jon Warner.
It's a
You
great
guys laugh. I mean,
segue.
that was some pretty awesome stuff. So we're grateful for John for coming on, taking the time out of his busy schedule. I mean, these guys are poor
Busy.
John. He looked like he was so tired. I think he went through like 7 cups of coffee while we were talking to him. I mean, I think he was just straight
Just
from
one really
we?
large. Yeah, I mean, there
We-
wasn't
we
really
were
a
talking
we,
to him?
as Steven was like monopolizing all conversation. If you-
Sorry,
Yeah,
I
we
don't
kid
know what you
Steve-
guys are talking
we
about.
kid Steve because we like to, and we've been doing this for 65 episodes, and we're great that he's here and kind of brought us all together. But really, we brought you here to tell you that this can't happen anymore. And
It's
that,
an intervention with your
that you're out of the
intervening
herd.
in our conversation.
Yeah, we have all these great ideas, and Steve just blows past them. But just saying. So we're gonna go ahead and move on here because of reasons. And there was also. I like that.
I
that
also
Steve
had a good
gets.
time during the interview.
Yes, JD didn't even show up.
For those audio listeners only, Steve is making the face that you make when your great uncle is toasting at the wedding that he wasn't invited to.
That's all.
That's a very apt description of the face I'm making right now. But please, I mean, you continue. I will not stop you from taking over this boat. It's sinking already, so carry on.
It's not sinking. There was a cool thing that happened today. There was another stream, and if I may say so, this one worked. It was fun. It was a good stream.
You can keep going, Mike. Go ahead, man.
I don't want to steal your thunder, Steve.
No,
Go ahead.
my thunder. Like you go ahead. I'm
You've already taken
His
it.
thunder has been crushed.
Already
Long
You
live
guys
the
can drive
king.
the ship. All right, so here's what we're gonna talk about: progression. So
There's like a
Darren,
second and a half
You pilot a ship.
space.
I'm gonna talk. If you want me to not talk, I will not talk. Or you can interrupt. That's fine. Or I can keep going, or whatever. I'm gonna cut all this anyway. So
It'll be in the YouTube
So
video. It's fine.
we finally
It'll
got our
get there.
progression stream from Ben and Darren. They came on. Darren is another producer. I haven't heard a lot from Darren on Twitter. Haven't heard a lot of him mentioned. I think he's just been, in the grind, getting weapon systems worked out. So haven't heard a lot of. It was nice to hear another voice from the dev team today, get some different perspectives on what they're working on and how they're doing that work. So we got a lot of interesting information about progression. First thing that we really didn't know about yet was we did not know about the inscription system. We did not know about the components that they were going to be talking about. So first things first, I'd like to dive into the inscriptions. So inscriptions are going to be little affixes. I guess an affix is how they're known as in Diablo, or little bonuses. When you're playing Destiny, they're just an extra little node, like the Firefly perk, stuff like that, is going to be randomly generated onto these weapons. So none of the weapons are going to be the same. They're all going to be random rolls. So you're always going to be getting something different. I mean, I'm not going to say always, things are going to pop up every now and then. They're exactly the same, but I don't think it's going to be that common. So inscriptions go on to weapons or items that are uncommon and above. and each new rarity type, you're going to get an extra inscription. So at uncommon, you get 1. At rare, you get 2. At the next level, epic, you get 3. And at master class, you'll get 4. And at master class and legendary, these weapons are actually going to have a specific ability tied to them. So I think the way they were talking about it, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. If you pick up a weapon called, let's call it the Mountain Dew weapon, right? And you get it at uncommon, it's going to have 1 affix. And then if you get it at epic, it's going to have 2. If you get it uncommon, it goes uncommon, rare, epic. So if you get uncommon, it's going to have 1. Rare, it's going to have 2. Epic's going to have 3. And then when that Mountain Dew weapon hits, we're not sponsored by Mountain Dew. When that weapon hits Masterwork, then it's going to gain its special ability that's been attached to the weapon, right? Is that how you guys were reading that information that we were getting?
Yeah, so there has the orange text for both Master and then Legendary, but they also have a specific pool that they pull from for those inscriptions. So there's, what they said, there's over 100 of them, but then once it gets to the higher tier, they have a specific pool that it will pull the inscriptions from. So it's going to be better inscriptions for the, Master and Legendary versions.
So do you guys think, and I know they didn't touch on this, a lot of previous games you get uncommon weapons are just crap weapons, right? They're just throwaway. You're never going to see them again. It seems like in this system, that same weapon that's uncommon is going to carry on throughout the rarities. There's not going to be like the toothpick of JD at uncommon and then be, the Master Cleaver different weapon. It's going to be the same weapon. So do you guys think there's going to be weapons that are specifically legendary, or will they all just be carried through the game?
I think there'll be both. I think they're going to have like named legendary weapons with, possibly specific things like they talked about later in the stream, where it's like whether they're, like kill 10 whatever, and it gives you something specific for that. They're still trying to work that out, Ben was saying. But I think, because the good thing is, like they said, if you find a blueprint, it's going to carry, you can build that blueprint no matter what level you are. It's just going to build at your level, And so, it's not like you have to go out and refine that blueprint again. You have to find a masterwork tier blueprint or whatever. It's just whatever you're at is what you can build at. This is what I get.
And just as a caveat, so this stream dropped earlier today, and we didn't have a lot of time to comb through it like we would like, just because of work and stuff. So if we get something wrong, sorry, we're gonna get it wrong. I don't know what to tell you. You can send us emails and tell us
late.
I probably won't read them, but that's fine. JD's like half alive right now, so we'll just send all the emails to JD to go over. So one of the things, like Devon said, there's over 100 of them. So the core functionality of the item will stay the same, but the affixes or the inscriptions will change. So there's a couple different examples of inscriptions that we saw. So there was javelin heat damage. So if you're doing a fire build, you probably want to stack as many of these as you can, and you're probably going to have to work for a while to find as many of them as you want. So I'm guessing if there's heat damage, there's probably going to be ice damage, acid damage, and lightning damage. And Ben and Darren talked about the combo system also and how these will work. One is your primer, one is your detonator, and we can talk about that a little bit later when we talk about the combos. So other inscriptions that we saw, there was javelin shotgun ammo, so you can carry more shotgun ammo. So I'm guessing with that, there's going to be pistol, mortar, marksman, shotgun, all the ammos you can think of. Those are going to be part of those inscriptions. So I know they said that there's over 100, but it seems like, we can at least guess what a lot of the other ones are going to be. They talked about pickup radius. They talked about flight time, your ultimate regeneration, your hover time,
shield regeneration,
shield regen, percent damage, magazine size, weak point damage, health per pickup,
pretty much anything. Pretty much anything you could think of, right? Anything in the game can be affected by the inscriptions, depending on what gear you have.
There might even be inscriptions that are specific to an enemy type. Maybe it's like percent damage against scars, percent damage against Ursix. Those are possibilities. And with the system that they have, there doesn't have to be like, nope, this is the 104 we have. That's it. We're never going to add to it. Right. So one of the things I did see, they have an ammo drop chance. And if you're rolling in a group, I know they said that the loot is all instanced, so you can't steal each other's loot. Do you guys think that if you are able to stack ammo drop chance or health drop chance, that that'll affect your party members also?
Didn't
I
they
would hope
say
so.
in a previous? I thought they said in the stream with Ben and Mike that the health orbs and stuff were instance to the player.
So that you can only see those orbs that are dropped for
Yeah,
you.
like the orbs that are dropped are for you only. I believe they said that towards the end of the stream when we first found out about the Frost Dominion group. And like it was our first glimpse of the Dominion was it was that same stream.
Okay. Because I think it'd be a really cool idea if that you could have a person on your team that is stacking ammo drop chance or health drop chance, so that it affects your team.
That sounds
they
like a
can
great
get all
rate.
that stuff.
All right, that sounds like a great storm build perk to be able to do that for your team.
Because
I could definitely see like a team XP inscription being a thing. You know, like something that gives like X amount of extra XP if you're in a team. Like, yeah, that'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, XP is probably another one that'll be on here for sure, so you can level up. And Ben mentioned on Twitter that there will probably be other levels. I guess we can talk about the levels. They talked about the difficulties in the game. There's 3 difficulties open in the beginning. You have Lancer is easy, Freelancer is medium, then you have Master as your difficulties. Then past that, you have Grandmaster 1, 2, and 3. And they were thinking that that Grandmaster level unlocked at a certain cap, you're probably going to beat the game, and you're probably going to get to a certain level, and you're going to unlock that. But there might be something akin to Paragon points, which is a Paragon point in Diablo is every time you level up past your cap, you get another point to put into part of your character sheet. So they're saying there might be something like that after launch, but nothing like that right now. So I think the amount of inscriptions that we did see makes it so, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. The build that Darren was running, Devon, you probably remember it better. Like, he was talking about being able to use his rocket, to use his whatever. You remember what exact combo he built for himself?
Yeah, so when he was hovering, his abilities or his gear regenerated faster, right? So he was always trying to hover and always trying to take out more people. So what he had to do was with his wrist rocket, whatever they're calling it, he had to take somebody out with that, right? Which would then boost his power for his grenade, so he could throw his grenade, and then if his, with the grenade, it had the ability, if you killed, got a multi-kill for 3 people, it would automatically increase his shield back to 100%. If it was 2, the ultra would boost up a lot faster. So the whole thing was so that he can keep, throwing out gear as much as possible and doing a lot of fire damage. So specifically built for explosions and fire, I believe is what it was. And so it was all built around the hover, killing, a lot of, enemies. So it definitely wasn't built, as they saw later on in the stream, for larger one-on-one confrontations, but it was built for cleaning up the mobs, in the trash and helping to keep things in control. So
JD, looking at this list of inscriptions, I mean, what takeaways did you have? What ideas in your mind are like, oh man, I'm going to build this type of javelin that takes, advantage of health pickup and being able to move fast and never have a shield go down.
So, thinking especially in regard to the Colossus, which I am more or less aiming for right now in terms of what I'm going to be playing first. Obviously, anything that boosts your health is going to be great. Means you can keep going even longer. I think, especially with the flamethrower, I think it's going to be great to really either have some kind of heat damage in some way, shape, or form, either for the wall of fire or for the flamethrower, or if you want to double down on that. Personally, I'd probably prefer wall of fire and maybe a railgun instead, so in that way I might be able to even detonate some of my own combos if push comes to shove. Because I feel like if you have a javelin setup that's nothing but primers, that's probably going to be good for your team, but if your team's not really paying attention, that might be hard for you. So who knows? But definitely extra health. Probably extra damage, so people just go down faster. But
What
I
do you
think
guys
the nice
think?
thing
I was just thinking, for the four of us, if you're gonna pick ads or you're gonna pick, the one-on-one confrontations, right? So I figured probably the four of us were gonna play, more than a few times, right? So
right.
we'd have to
Twice,
find
maybe.
twice, find our team composition, and so it's like, which would you rather be? Would it be the aim, the cleaning up the ads and the trash mobs, or primary damage,
I mean, I'm usually somebody who goes for crowd control. Just taking care of keeping things kind of from keeping the other players from getting overwhelmed is usually what I do in other games. Especially Warframe, crowd control is very important there because the enemies aren't really that tough, but they can overwhelm you just by sheer numbers. So if you're on crowd control, then you just have somebody go for the boss, which is great.
So JD's crowd control. Steven, what are you gonna be?
I think with this system, it's definitely going to be interesting because I guess it's going to depend on what gear drops for you, right? I mean, we also have so many other gear slots that we haven't seen that these instances, what are they called? These inscriptions are going to affect those certain gear slots. So I guess it's like, hey, I got this legendary gear slot for this Colossus shock. I forget what the thing that has a lightning coming out of it. It's like, well, I guess I got to tune to this because this is my best piece of gear. So now I guess I have to change to that. So for me, I guess it depends on what good
Which would
drops
you
I'm
prefer?
actually
I mean,
gonna get.
if you could get any drops that you wanted, which way would you prefer?
I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to say. Watching them and seeing the amount of enemies that Darren had on screen, it seems like going for being able to down a lot of enemies quickly is pretty beneficial. But then he went up against the legendary Ursixes.
Two legendary Ursix.
The legendary Space Bears. So he goes up against those and he's like, no, I can't do this. I got to bounce out. So it's like, man, I mean, if that's going to happen also, I don't know. I guess I go just for shooting all the mans because I don't know. It's hard to say.
And those enemies respawn pretty quick. I mean, that's what it looked like anyways. There was more kept spawning, or maybe he was just moving around to the new areas, but it seemed like there was a lot of enemies all the time.
Yeah, and I think he did say that it was on Master just so he didn't, one-shot all the enemies so he could actually show them off. So I'm sure that those enemies spawn a lot quicker when you're on that higher difficulty. I mean, if that's Master, if you're thinking Grandmaster 3, there's probably going to be a ton of guys all over that map. So I don't have a good answer for you, Devon. I don't know.
What about you, Mike?
So again, the buildup of our team. If we've got two people doing crowd control, then I'm going objective. If we're supposed to get the thing or take out the guy or escort the man or do that kind of stuff, then someone's got to be. I mean, we all can't be doing ad control, so it's got to be some objective type thing.
We can't all be acupuncturists.
Exactly. So, but I think the point is, and what we got from the stream, and I know where you're going with this, Devon, but just to put a little asterisk on everything, that can change. One mission might be a frost mission, and the build out that I have is really good with ad control of the frost elemental. Where Steven may have gotten different drops or JD may have gotten different drops. So it'll rotate depending on what the mission is. And I think that's part of it, is once you are familiar with the world, familiar with the missions, because you kind of get into that groove and you know what's there, and maybe my ranger is best in this mission. Maybe Steven's storm really does a whole lot of damage and helps us complete the objective in this mission. And maybe Devon's interceptor is the person who with the three of us need to protect as they go and, I don't know, disarm the thing or sneak into the agile type place thing. So which is really cool in and of itself, because then not only is there the, I don't want to say grind, but not only there is the drive of getting the good gear in the game, but it's also making sure you craft and get the gear that will help you in your quote unquote assignment as you play maybe a stronghold, or maybe that one high difficulty mission that we've been stuck on for the last week and a half or so.
Yeah, the one thing, for me, it's kind of the same for me, Steven, is it really just depends on what I have. And I mean, I would prefer to be doing damage to like a boss or a single combat type thing, where doing heavy damage to them and not worrying so much about the ads. But what I was thinking about as we were, as they were going over the stream was, they're like, well, if you're playing with someone who's not, min-maxing and doing all those things, you can still play at a lower level and do those things. And so it's going to come down to, again, where it's like, I think back to when I played Halo 2, and I played Halo 2 a lot, and I had 2 separate accounts based upon the people I would play with, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying, like, this way I don't have to have separate accounts, but you can have separate builds where it's like, it doesn't really matter. I can kind of do a mix of both, and so you can really kind of make a lot of different builds for the different friends that you're going to play with, right? So maybe we're doing random, community nights. We don't really know what we're going to get when we go out there, so we can't really be like, okay, we're going to try and push the hardest content possible, so we're going to have this and this and this, but it's just going to be like, okay, we have to have, setups for kind of, jack of all trades, kind of javelin going in until we can kind of get comfortable with who we're playing with. But I just didn't want it to be where it's like, oh man, I'm going to have to play lower level stuff with these people because they're not, up to that level. So that's going to be, to me, if depending on how it is once we're playing, will determine whether, I guess, more of my enjoyment if we have to always be worried about who we're playing with and what's going to happen. And, that was just one of my concerns.
Well, but didn't they also say that playing with people who are lower level is actually going to help them out and help you out?
Yeah, you get rewards.
There's a benefit.
There's a benefit.
Which is different from other games that we've played when someone's been lower level and who hasn't, or who is trying to level up that one gun.
Well,
so, I mean, I think there's nuances to it.
I think also one of the nice things about having 4 javelins is that, okay, if we're going to be playing now with these people that I don't know, it's time for me to level up my interceptor that I haven't played a lot. Yep. Maybe you don't have that high level gear for that javelin yet, so it gives you a chance to do that. And then, especially with being able to change the difficulty, it's like if you don't want to get all sweaty, it's like, okay, we're playing only on freelancer mode. Yep. So you don't have to be like, man, we're banging our heads against this content, we can't beat it. You just drop down the level, and then you are able to have a good time, and then hopefully you're still able to progress in some of those things. I noticed when Darren was shooting a lot of those, I believe they were the outlaws, it said when they popped up, that there was a little meter that was like, 50 of 200 outlaws destroyed or killed or whatever. So there's obviously goals that we were working toward. And maybe even just jumping in with someone at a lower level, you're still going to be able to complete those things, those little, whatever they are, goals to unlock other equipment. Maybe it's for faction stuff. Maybe someone sent you out on a contract to clean up 200 scars. So it looks like maybe there's always opportunity to be progressing, even if you are taking it down an extra level. Yeah. So the next thing that we saw, and this is the one thing I was most concerned about because we haven't heard anything about components. And I just pointing it out, we were right. We were guessing that these things were going to be called components. Reading when they updated the website, they talked about, you'll need more components to upgrade your javelin. We're like, is this what they're really going to be called? We were right. That's all I'm saying. I'm just putting it out there. So you other guys that thought we were wrong, you were wrong. We were right. So there's 6 slots in these things that you're going to be equipping. I was not expecting 6 slots. I was expecting maybe 3 extra slots that you can install gear into to change what your javelin's going to do. So 6 slots, I think, is awesome.
Well, hang on though, because I don't want to derail you, because that's what I do. But as I was looking at the stream, go to timestamp 2614.
You're assuming I have that open.
Well, I did, just so you know, Mike, I also got a tweet back from Ben to confirm how many you can have on at once.
That it is all 6?
Yeah.
Because I found something interesting. So if you go to 2614, and this is going through Darren's legendary ranger build. Okay. And he's in his component screen, and he's showing us the 6 different components that Steve's talking about right now. So if you back up to 2609, the Ranger's ultimate power level, his gear score is 433.
Yeah.
Okay, and that shows all those things that are equipped, right? But then you go to 26, what was it, 2614 again? He has a different component selected, like he's hovering over it, and you'll see that the gear score actually changes.
Yeah.
Indicating that if this thing is equipped,
Mm-hmm.
the gear score changes. But that's still part of the 6 that was in the initial menu. So if been confirmed that all those 6,
Yep.
all those effects count.
He said when you have
then-
everything unlocked, you can equip 6, right? So I
Okay.
think what you're looking at right here on this mark is, so there's 6 in this slot that he's looking at right now, but the ones that are there, it's not equipped. The one that's equipped is the one with that yellow icon on the top left. That's the one that's equipped.
So then
what
it's
he's
6 times 6?
No, so this is just another sub menu of options for that piece.
Okay.
Of that gear piece, right? So every gear piece, the items are all going to have different things that you can put into specifically for those. Right?
So 6 times 6 then.
No.
So a possible of 36 combinations, because if each gear slot has a sub menu of 6.
Well, we don't know if there's only 6 in that. I mean, just like when they did the one with all the the textures and everything else, we don't know how many there actually is. This is just what they put on the javelin to try and show off some of the stuff. It doesn't,
So
I don't think there's only 6.
Maybe then that's the collection of all the components that Darren has accumulated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's his inventory, and he's
That's
picking
inventory.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, and
You
so
can't- you can't.
I just
you
saw
can't
that in the
equip
stream and
36
thought
things.
I'd talk about. No, not but 36 options.
yeah, or
'Cause
at
if you
least
have 6 slots with 6 different things. So I get what you're saying. I understand.
So, but it's showing you basically if he equipped that, it would drop him down, because this is the section where they're talking like if you equip this lower stuff, it can drop your javelin down into a lower tier, so
Right.
you can see what
So
equipping these components will do to
Right.
your overall level. So.
And then your drops, your loot drops actually change according to that, right? Because gear drops at the level you are. So
So I mean, you're always going to want to have the highest stuff. I guess that's going to be the push comes to shove. Which one's better? Do I want to equip this? And so, and although they did say, it says Legendary Ranger, but it's only supposed to be Masterwork. So
right,
Legendary is going to be even higher. So.
Right. So
they had a lot of bugs in this build. So I mean, there could be a lot of things that are different from here. I mean, obviously, a lot of these gear slots that they were showing us are not going to do 0% damage. That would be pretty ridiculous.
It's 0% ammo drop chance.
How do you
But
like
I think
my-
having 6 different slots, this is really going to make it to where, like Darren was explaining, my guy hovers because I have this equipped, and if I'm hovering, this does extra damage and this does extra damage. It's like, okay, there's going to be so many different inscriptions on these components that I was worried at first when they said we only had 3 different gear slots and 2 weapons. That's not enough. Like
Right.
I think this is perfect, because when we're talking about Diablo, I mean, there's a lot of gear that you have in there that doesn't change the appearance of your character. You've got the belt. I mean, the belt you can see sometimes. You've got rings. You've got the socks that you put on, and you got toe rings in that game.
Yeah.
And it's just stuff that you don't see that doesn't make a difference. I think that BioWare is saying, you know what, you don't need to see these things, but this is going to change the way you play. We don't need to drastically change everything all the time. But this is the stuff that we care about anyway. If you just care about the number going up, then let's give you the option to do that without having to, create these
Everybody look
crazy
the same?
pieces of armor and everyone end up looking the same, because now you can look however you want. So with all these different options, do you guys think this is too much? I mean, we were having a conversation that, 6 is a lot. Do you really need that many slots? Because within each of those, you're going to have inscriptions within those. So
I think they said they kind of touched on that. It's like you can play it as easy as you want, where it's just like just pick basic things, don't really worry about the inscriptions, or you can really min max it. Try and keep crafting for those perfect rolls, and keep going out trying to find what you really want for that build. And I think there's going to be a lot more build variety, where you can have half and half of does this, but it also does this, and there's going to be a ton of complexity there if you want there to be. right?
If you want it to be.
Yeah.
It could be super easy, or it
Yeah.
could be super, I need to get those floaties as big as they can get. But yeah, I mean, you can just even look at inscriptions. Anything that mentions flight, you can just equip it. Anything that mentions ammo drop, you can equip it without really looking at the numbers. Didn't they say it's anywhere between 5 and 10%?
I think that was just kind of an example they were
okay.
giving. We know that some of the
But it's not
cooldown
zero.
time.
It's not zero.
It's not zero, but Darren even had, he had an ability, an inscription that was going to decrease the cooldown time by 50% on his grenade if he was hovering.
Yeah.
Which seems insane. If you can get that on one inscription piece and you keep stacking that to where you're oh, I'm hovering, I have infinite grenades.
Instant grenades. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, and plus
grenade build.
Well, and then you add that to every double kill of my grenades gives me my ultimate, and then there's probably an inscription that says every multi kill with your ultimate gives you, 28 grabbits to do whatever you want with, and so
which
I mean,
is
you
weird.
can min-max it to a crazy level if you want to.
It's gonna be awesome. I mean, those numbers are gonna be flying all over the place, and there's gonna be all kinds of crazy stuff happening. It's gonna be explosion after explosion.
There was the interesting, because Steven kind of touched on it, whether what you have in your build benefits your group or not, right?
Right.
So they didn't really talk about that, and I we can ask them about that. But what do you guys think? You think you should have stuff that benefits your group, or just all personal?
No, I mean, you've got to have builds that benefit your group. Go ahead, JD. Sorry.
Well, yeah. Before we, move on, I do just want to take the time to just say that, I really appreciate that. From what we can tell right now, is that the system. It seems to be not super easy to understand. It's not it's definitely it's not super easy to understand. But I do think that it has that kind of depth to it that it's easy-ish to understand, but hard to master. And I think the added levels of complexity with the components, all the gear, the inscriptions, I really feel like getting to make your perfect build is going to be a lot of the fun after the end game. Well, I mean, after you finish the game and you get to the Elder game, as they call it.
Yeah, I could understand that. It is going to be fun to try to figure that out. I mean, for those who aren't so good with the numbers, I mean, there's going to be probably websites popping up saying this is what you need, this is what you look for, this is the gear. But again, that's probably part of the fun.
Yeah, I mean,
so the part, Devon, where you were talking about where being able to benefit your group, that could be where combos come in. If you and your Colossus not instigate, but what's the word that they used? Ignite?
Prime?
Initiate? Prime. You lay down the primer, and then Steve comes in with the storm, and then
you need two coats after the primer.
Yeah, and I hope that's part of it. They only mentioned it here. Darren only mentioned it when he had a piece of gear that would prime it, and then he had another piece of gear that would ignite it. But I also hope that can go player to player. So if Devon intercepting around lands all these primers on things, and then Steven, as he's hovering in the storm, can ignite it. That's just a cool teamwork dynamic where Devon shoots through and does all that stuff, and then Steve can light them up.
And I think we know that you can do that because that's what we saw during the EA Play trailer.
Right.
Is when the storm primes it with the frost and then goes. And then the combos that we have that they talked about, the Colossus does a combo. It does high damage to a primary target, then it explodes in an AoE. The Ranger does high damage to a single target when it combos, and then the Storm, when it hits its combo, it actually freezes the primary target, and then it chains frost to other targets around it, which is pretty cool. And then the Interceptor actually has an aura around it that we saw in the Ben and Mike stream. We actually saw the Interceptor use its combo and gain that aura, and it was cruising around with a lightning bubble around it, which was pretty cool. So, and then also just to continue on, because we have tons of stuff to talk about, they talked about crafting. Crafting is a thing. You're going to be able to craft stuff specifically that has random rolls on it. If you're not getting an auto rifle drop that you want, hopefully you're gonna have a blueprint. You'll be able to do that, and those actually scale, like Devon said, with your level. So if you find a level 5 blueprint of Justice's Wrath or whatever, that's gonna scale with you. So if you find it at level 5, you go to level 20. They said it's gonna you're gonna be able to make one at level 20.
They didn't clarify if you could make legendary versions though, right? They said I think you can up to masterwork or something like that, maybe. I don't. I'd have to watch back.
I guess I don't remember.
It's all alpha, so it's all subject to change. So that'll be pretty interesting. Hopefully, they've got some really cool stuff that you can only make this legendary weapon with this blueprint, because that gives you, it gives you incentive to go out and search for crafting gear. And I guess we're gonna have that anyway, because we're gonna be wanting to make the perfect weapon for our build that has that perfect inscription on it. So.
Right. So
cool stuff.
I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know if they're gonna necessarily go the same route, but I do remember that with Dragon Age Inquisition, Legendary was basically was a tier all of its own. Masterworks were comparable. Like the Masterworks that you created were sometimes more advantageous, to make yourselves, and they were good because they were tailored by you to your own needs. But the legendary weapons, they were very much set in stone, very consistent. Like if you had the sword Caliban, which is basically like their version of Excalibur, it had very specific effects, very specific. It's a good sword, but it's if your playstyle doesn't exactly 100% match up with it, it's just a thing you have. So I don't know if they're going to go to the same route with that, because I feel like they do, because there's a lot of stuff that they seem to be doing with Anthem that they did with Dragon Age Inquisition, which makes sense. I thought it would be a little bit more similar to Andromeda, but Andromeda wasn't the same team that did Inquisition. But Anthem is the same team as Inquisition. So
yeah, it seems like they're taking a lot of great ideas from their own IPs and ideas from everyone that has come before in these types of games, and they're throwing in their own twist on it and kind of matching it all together. And we're going to get Anthem, and I'm pretty excited for it. So a couple things that we saw come out last week, since the last time that we recorded, we got a Game Awards trailer that featured the big bad of the game that we'll be playing so far. It's the main antagonist of the first part of the game. I'm guessing it's not going to be the only antagonist that we have, but it featured the Monitor. The Monitor, we are told, is a pretty bad dude. Has an idea on how to bring peace to the planet, but it's not exactly the way that the freelancers or the people of the fort would want it to be done. So there's that's where our conflict comes in. The Monitor has a idea to use the Anthem of Creation to do something bad, I'm guessing. I don't know if it's hey, if we wipe everything out, we start over, the planet will be better for it. We don't know exactly what its motivations are, but the Monitor looks super cool. It was a really cool trailer. We got to see Halleck, we got to see Faye, we got to see a lot of enemies. A giant Ursix being taken down by a Ranger Javelin, and the Javelin just kind of stepping on its head, acting all cool, like it's the cool Javelin of the group. So we got to see a lot of cool things. We also got to see a new creature called the Fury standing behind the Monitor. This looks like some crazy long-armed, freaky deaky thing going on. Mutated by the Anthem. It looks organic, but it also looks like it's got a helmet. It's got seals slapped all over it. So the Dominion is slapping seals on anything that it can, which is kind of scary. I don't want to fight no Ursix that's got seals all over it. So it's a very cool trailer. Mike Gamble actually did a follow-up video on it that they sent to kind of funny games that they put out, and he kind of broke down exactly what's happening, who we are, story up to now, and all that stuff. So we'll link that in the video notes. I'm sure everyone has seen it by now, but Mike did a great job breaking that down, and good job on Mike. He actually wore a black shirt against the white backdrop this time, so it didn't blend into it. Mike's learning about this streaming stuff, so good on you, Mike. And then today, this is the thing that I really wanted to talk about. I didn't even want to talk to John today. I just wanted to talk about this trailer. That's not true. That's not true. Thanks for coming on, John. I appreciate it.
We wanted to talk to John for forever.
So IGN had a first look today at the Legion of Dawn armor that we'll be getting if you pre-order the game or if you sign up for EA Access Premier. So, Devon, I want you to give us a breakdown. Legion of Dawn Edition trailer from IGN.
All right, so it was a really good trailer, by the way. And me describing it is not going to do it justice. I have watched it quite a few times. But, you know, it's they're basically talking about... so it's the freelancers talking about one who, you know, stepped out above the rest, right, to go and... to you, did it look like we were enslaved, right? They were talking about humanity was enslaved to the creatures of Anthem? Or,
well, we were slaves to the chaos.
No, so that's right. Slaves to the chaos is what it said. And, you know, Helena Tarsis... made it possible, stepped, you know, created, I don't know, it looked like they had, honestly, it looked like they had Roman legionnaires, you know, like with shields and spikes in one of the brief flashback images that we saw. But it's basically, you know, 4 javelins in the Legion of Dawn armor, walking into what looks like a temple of some sort, you know, to remember or to honor, you know, her as well as maybe others that fell in this giant battle. We don't really know what's going on. But basically, they talked about her giving her life to give us freedom, right? And
right.
It gave me goosebumps, you know, watching this. The music's great. Everything was really, really good. Her armor looked awesome. It's, you know, looks like Colossus. Maybe it's Colossus. I don't know. You know, it could be just like what we talked about with Jon, where the Monitor has a different type of javelin that... you know, maybe her javelin was different than what we currently have. I don't know. So
yeah. And the feelings that are invoked in this thing, like you said, Devon, it's very much like there was a battle constantly going on between humans, between whether it was, because it looked like in one of the stills, it's depicted that someone is stabbing a Titan in the chest. Mm-hmm. So it must be, you know, the people of the world against the world itself, until Helena was like, nah, we got to win this war or else we're going to keep fighting. So she steps up. She gets crafted this. I don't know if it's crafted, but she has this amazing giant sword that, you know, Jon told us we're not going to be able to wield right now. Maybe we'll be able to wield something like it in the future.
I mean, there was 2 swords in that trailer. Well, you know,
yeah, a lot of the other people actually have blades also. And I'm guessing that, you know, Jon kind of made it sound that, yeah, I mean, in the Middle Ages that we were using swords and bows also, until, you know, the technology was such that, you know, that thing was kind of obsolete. So I'm guessing that this kind of happened also. But, you know, it'd still be cool to be able to wield one of those things. Maybe we just replace our melee if you're the Storm or if you're a Ranger or whatever.
Drop that mace.
But anyway, it looks like Helena was, you know, the hero that we needed then. It's someone that the freelancers look up to. The Legion of Dawn was based off of her. I'm guessing like her armor is probably in the Fortress of Dawn. We've seen that in the map. Hopefully it's someplace that we'll be able to go and we'll be able to check out. And, you know, like everything about the trailer is like, I'm just geeking out about, because that's more of the backstory that, you know, it makes the world feel alive, lived in. It has history, it has meaning, and it's worth defending. Because, you know, if you know your roots, you can build a tree or something like that. Mike, you have thoughts on the Legion of Dawn trailer?
It was super good. Cinematically, it was great. I mean, you could do a sweet little short on that battle that was depicted there. Like Devon said, that armor didn't look like any of the javelins that we have. Looked very much like a medieval knight. You know, it just looked really good. Devon was right. The music, the themes, the what were they? I think they said it kind of before, that the freelancers were down on their luck kind of thing, and had to like move up. But it seems, I don't know, maybe it just seems like more humanity was down on its luck, and Helena was like, you're right, let's get this going. She did her thing. It was something we could rally behind, and so yeah, it was, I mean, it was good. It was a good piece of Anthem lore that we have, and now we can go back and rewatch a bunch of times, because it's good. So
and as you know, if it's good,
it's good. It's good. It's good. So
yeah. Guys, if there's nothing else, if you guys have all said your piece for the night, if you've told me I talked too much enough times, I think I get it now. So,
did JD tell us how he felt about that trailer?
JD, did you tell us how you felt?
No, I
Would
did.
you like to tell us how you felt?
I was just waiting to be asked.
Oh, well then, if you're waiting to be asked on this podcast, JD, I have
65
good news
episodes
from
in,
ya.
JD. You know you gotta just go. You gotta discount, double check, step on in, and get it.
I already interrupted Steve twice tonight, and I felt kind of bad. So I was like, I'll be.
Oh, don't lie. You know it felt
I've been
good.
interrupted.
Are you
Felt
serious?
good.
No, so the feeling.
I am offended.
The feeling that I kind of got from the trailer. Well, one, to the rest of you three, welcome to a BioWare game with their level of world building.
Don't you dare go there. I'm just kidding.
Like this is their level of world building has always been what has drawn me into every one of their games. And this is just another example of it, like just a small taste of what we're going to see in the campaign story, or what was it? They have a specific name for the campaign, from like the critical path. I think that's it. Yeah, the critical path proper. All I know is that the kind of feeling that I got from looking at Helena Tarsis's like suit, it kind of felt to me like it might actually be like a prototype for all 4 javelins in a way, because we saw her wielding, you know, like it was a melee kind of build like the Interceptor. It was big like the Colossus. It had some ranger designs kind of going on in with it, and then it was also kind of wielding lightning as well. So I don't know. It may be like I feel like that javelin is so complex that
You think ours are watered down?
What was that?
You think ours are watered down versions, maybe? Or
I actually do. I think that her javelin, like they probably poured a bunch of resources into just that because she was probably their best hope. And I think that because they poured so many resources into it, it's not something that they could recreate easily. However, they could recreate aspects of it or other javelins that are capable of certain things. So kind of like, you know, like reverse engineering it, you know, like because some of this art of javelin making was lost, you know, with the Fortress of Dawn. So we don't know who exactly here is able to like, you know, make what from. Or how they exactly resumed making javelins. So if they maybe learned how to make the Ranger from this thing, Ranger basically being a watered down of being rounded out, like this suit was able to do without necessarily being like, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. This thing looked like it was a master of all trades. I'm sure maybe the Storm probably, the Dominion maybe picked up some ideas from it as well, considering that it was wielding lightning. And just the sheer bulk and power of it. It's very reminiscent of the Colossus. So I think that certain things, like this might be the origin point that was just too hard to recreate on its own on a consistent basis. You know, like the difference between a prototype and a production model, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be definitely interesting to see, because I think it was personally, I think it was a Colossus, and that was kind of the basis for that. But and then yeah, maybe you're just gonna build too many of them, so it's like, hey, we got to make these smaller because we can't put this much armor on things. Maybe they just didn't need it after that. After they won the war, they were able to live in peace for a little bit. So
well, I mean,
guys,
one more thing, right? So
one more thing.
The monitor, right? So John said his is different. Hers is different. Maybe all the Legion of Dawn, their javelins were different and not what we're used to, right? It was over 100-something years ago, basically, in the lore, in the story, from the Legion of Dawn, and we don't know when it broke up and this and that, but we know the monitor was from the Legion of Dawn, right?
Legion Victory, LV.
Did you say we do know that the monitor?
I thought the monitor was from, like, the Dominion broke off from the Legion of Dawn, right? All the different groups broke off from the Legion of Dawn. I thought this was, you know, where.
Did you think this? I don't know. I don't know if that is.
That would definitely be cool if that were true, because it definitely seems like the world was the enemy itself before Helena Tarsis, but after Helena Tarsis, it seems like that's when we got the Freelancers, the Sentinels, and then the Dominion.
Yeah, I thought they all broke off from the Legion of Dawn.
I'm not 100% sure on that, so I don't know. I believe you. I guess if she founded the Legion and she freed the people, maybe that's their origin point from being a group of, a small group of people trying to fight for survival. So I don't know. We'll have to do some research. We'll have to break some NDAs. So, guys, and I think we went through this whole episode without even breaking an NDA. Like, I might have broken my iTunes NDA during this episode. I'm not sure. I never read it. I did read the NDA for the alpha, though. So, if there's nothing else, guys, I think we went a little bit longer than we intended because we're going to tack on because we talked with Jon. So, man, we covered a lot of ground, and they've released a lot of stuff recently. I think they're probably going to go dark for the holidays, which they deserve it. I hope the whole team gets a lot of rest. Yeah. Get ready to come back for the VIP demo on the 25th of January because that's coming up soon. So, guys, until next time, I think there's a Shaper Storm getting very, very close on the horizon. Mm-hmm. So we'll see you on the other side.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
You usually have this queued up, but I totally forgot.
Thanks for listening. You can find us on Twitter at Freelancer Codex, on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or through email at freelancercodex@gmail.com.
And if you've gotten this far, and I just remembered, we're now on Spotify. If you listen on Spotify, you can find us there, which is pretty cool, I think. Anyway.
Thanks for listening.
So maybe we'll just end it there, so I don't have to play through this whole thing again. I think I should have just paused it instead of starting it over.
Mike's like,
and
I'm out.
Michael has just left. I think he sent a clear message to us on episode... What episode are we on? 65? Well, until next time, maybe we'll see Mike on the other side. Later.